So recently I picked up this book called Automate Your Busywork, which we have talked a lot about automation on this channel, so I wanted to make sure that I reviewed it for you guys and let you know what it actually teaches you. So in this video, we're gonna go over how to audit or track down your actual tasks. So kind of write them out and talk about your frustrations. And then we're gonna actually turn those little workflows into visual guides. So step-by-step kind of guides. And then finally, we're gonna talk about how to actually transform those into an automation so it's not as manual. If you're new here, my name is Liz. I'm a data science manager working in Portland, Oregon. But on the side, I like to look around for automation tools and kind of review them on this YouTube channel. So if you're into that, feel free to subscribe. Otherwise, let's jump into it. Now, the first thing we need to do is actually audit our tasks. So I built a little task tracker after reading his section about auditing your work. So basically, it's super simple. You write down your task, right? So I'm gonna do an example like newsletters. So write and publish newsletter post, great. Length 2 hours. It usually takes around 1 to 2 hours to write the post, schedule it, get it all out, kind of fleshed out with visuals and links and all that. He wants you to ask yourself, is it meaningful? And I put yes, valuable, yes. Do I enjoy it? I added the enjoyment one because I read Happier Hour by Cassie Holmes, and she had a really good example of rating your tasks as far as happiness goes. And I actually really enjoy writing newsletters, so I gave that one an 8 out of 10. I also added batchable as well, because sometimes, even though the task may be manual, you might be able to batch it. If the automation isn't there, then you can just batch them together. Like I batch film, so today I'm filming like 4 videos back to back to back. So it's, even though I can't automate my videos, at least I can batch them. So I like to add that as well. He did add the biggest frustrations, so I wrote down that, idea generation is probably the hardest thing, because I'm like starting with a blank piece of paper, so I'm kind of like, maybe I should have some ideas listed below. So this will give you some ideas. What are your frustrations? Okay, clicking is annoying, making visuals is time consuming, all that. So you can kind of go through and just pinpoint your frustrations. And then impact, it is a 9 because it is, part of the business. I like the newsletter. I like collecting emails. People say it's like the most important thing you can do, so I gave it a 9. As far as effort, this is effort to automate. This feels like it's a heavy lift, just because it starts in Notion kind of, and then it's touch and go. So it's touching a couple different applications. So I have a feeling that it's going to be difficult to automate, but I'll show you some tips and tricks along the way. So now that we filled out the time tracker, the next thing that you want to do is actually create a visual, right? That wasn't very visual. Maybe you wrote down some frustrations, great, blah. But you want to make a visual. So I recommend Lucidchart, which I will link my affiliate link below just to get you here, and then you can get signed up for a free trial and all that. You can do several things with the free trial, so just check it out below in the description of this video. But essentially what you want to do is basically create this chart or flow diagram that walks through step by step, and try not to miss any steps. So I have here the starting point, create new newsletter, great. Pick a topic, right? That's a specific process step, right? I have to log into Ghost, create a new post in Ghost, write the topic in the actual user interface, create the visuals in Canva. This is all parallel, so I kind of have them like pointing to each other, and then schedule newsletter, and then newsletter sent. So this is really easy to use. All you do is you just kind of drag and drop. So I drag this guy, and then you can add this arrow and then do the next step, and then write, and then you can just, make these pretty and change the color and all that kind of stuff. It's super easy. You just kind of just add arrows and add little boxes and stuff. It's kind of nice. I really like Lucidchart. If you are using Microsoft applications, then I would recommend Microsoft Visio, which is also very popular. But the point is that you want to make a flowchart. You can even make this by hand, but I kind of like this because then I'll embed it into my standard operating procedure, which I also recommend doing because it will help highlight some of the manual steps. So after you make the flowchart, I like to write out a step-by-step guide on how you actually do the process, like a training manual almost. So I use Scribe for this, which is another software. I know I'm using a lot of software. I will link Scribe affiliate link below too, but these are all stuff that I pay and use. So Scribe is really cool because you can actually create workflows. So if you click here, you can see step-by-step guide on where I'm clicking and how I'm logging in, and I kind of like it because you can have these like little manuals on the side. So and it just records your screen. It's like in your Chrome browser. It's a really great tool. I pay like $20 a month for it. But essentially I embedded my flowchart in here. So I took it from Lucidchart and printed it to a PNG and then pasted it into my SOP. So it's all in one place, and then I linked it there. So if I have to update it, I can just click this. But essentially making this and then writing out the steps and the structure of the content and how to schedule the post and kind of walking through manually how you do it will help you figure out how you might go about automating this. So I totally recommend making the flowchart and then making an SOP and running through it, filming yourself doing it, and it will start to generate some ideas on how you might go about automating this task. So the thing that popped out into my mind for automating this task is I thought, you know what, I'm already in Notion for my YouTube channel and a bunch of other stuff where I have Kanban boards. So I kind of wanted to make a Notion newsletter board. So I went in here and I have a newsletter board, right? And I want to just create my newsletters in here and then put the publish date, and then it automatically will publish it and pull the content from my newsletters in my Notion database, because then I can make it a Kanban board. It's a little bit easier to navigate than using Ghost interface. Now, there are several different software applications you can use, right? So to go about this, there is Make. So you can create a scenario, super easy, press this plus. Notion's already one of those ones that's already in here, right? And so I could do watch database items, so trigger when something's updated. I'd connect my Notion, but then I want to connect it to Ghost, right? So I'll add another module and Ghost, and then do create a post, most likely. So I would need to do some work in here. I have to create the connection and do a bunch of stuff and test it. It's gonna take a long time. That's why I put an 8 down on the effort level, because you're gonna have to play around with it. It's not super intuitive in the sense that if you're not used to automating things, this makes it a lot easier than actually coding it yourself, but it does take tweaking and trying to understand code, and it's low code, but there's still some in there. That's why I'm like, the automation is an 8. But super easy to use. I will also link my Make affiliate link below because I love make.com. Another option that I pay for is Zapier. So you can just search your apps. So I did Notion, and then you can search Ghost, and then you can make a Zap. So when a new database item is added, create a post, and then try it, and then play around with it. So I was playing around with mine here that I started to make, and it started to get a little complicated, and that's why I was giving it such a hard effort level, is parsing the web page, because I'm trying to get the content in here for the HTML body. It's a little bit harder than I thought. I'm sure I'm just missing something simple, but this is also an option. If you use Microsoft products, then I would suggest using Power Automate. You can make these really cool flows. You actually make them from a Visio template if you make the flowchart first. So try this one out if you're using a lot of Microsoft products. It's not gonna have really cool, as many of those custom APIs like Ghost and Notion, just because it's a Microsoft platform. It's gonna focus mainly on corporations. So it does have Trello and some other ones. So try this one out if you are using a lot of Microsoft. And then the last one, if you're really wanting to go in depth, you can actually use this site called Innatin, and you make this. So I have the desktop app, which is free. So this one's free. You can make these workflows. So I can press start from scratch, and I can add, Notion. Oops, spelled that wrong. Notion, and then click that, and then pick whatever this is. Get a page. When a page changes, get a user. So there's lots of options here, and the cool thing is you can click these and then connect them together. So let's just pick one. On page added to database, right? And then I can click Ghost, or type in Ghost, and then select here. And I've tried to play around with this once before, but again, I'm having a hard time with getting the content from the page in Notion. But again, it just shows you that you can just keep adding steps. Let's say you want to use Trello, you can add that. And then you can start playing around. And each one has documentation. So we open this guy up, you can go into the docs right here and it'll link you there. So you have a lot of different low code applications at your disposal. So pick one. I recommend using Make or Zapier first. Microsoft Automate if you're using a lot of like SharePoint or Microsoft products. N8n is a little bit more advanced, but that's more if you want to use some more crazy workflows, but I would suggest using Make or Zapier to start off. I think this book is a good reminder to always keep automation in front of mind when you are going about your workday, because it's really easy to just keep doing that manual task over and over, because it will take significantly less time just to do that manual task than it is to set up the automation. But you are basically pushing it forward. So right now, some of the things I have automated is I have my Twitter account that is linked to YouTube. So when I post on YouTube, it sends it to Twitter. So there's a couple really easy ones that you can just get out of the way and put on there. More complex ones, it's gonna take a little bit of time, but start developing that automation mindset so you're thinking about how you can free up your time. Now, if you want to see an in-depth tutorial about N8n or Make.com, I will link them up here. I go way more into depth. This was just kind of a breeze through, but the other ones I actually go way more in depth on how to create a workflow or an automation. So feel free to check those out. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time.